Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and today we're going to be talking about removing the back extension and that kind of addition that's on the back part of the house. We're going to do some accidental demolition as well. We'll get into that a little bit, and some other light demo in today's demo day part 2. Here we go. It is hot. It has been a hot couple of days, 95 degrees Fahrenheit every day. It's warm in this house. So we started this project by lifting up the front porch. Basically, the front part of the front porch needed to be jacked up because it had sagged over time. In a previous video, we mentioned the reason for this was because someone replaced the pillars on the front with 4x4s, which is fine. They're treated lumber, they did great with that. But instead of bringing those 4x4s all the way to the ground, they actually let those 4x4s rest on deck boards. And deck boards aren't really designed to hold that kind of weight, so over time they had sagged down. So our job was basically to lift this thing up. We lifted up a little bit at a time, and then we're going to replace those 4x4 boards with other 4x4 boards that go down to the ground and then rest in the cement block. The thought here is we basically jack up a section of this overhang at a time. So we kind of do the middle section, we lift it up 2 or 3 inches, and then the right side we lift it up a little bit, left side 2-3 inches, then we go back to the center and do it again, and then the right side, left side, center. And we kind of do that until we've reached the desired height. We put a level on it, make sure it's all level, and then we replace the 4x4 boards with new ones, basically creating a new pillar in that place, and we're good to go. It didn't exactly go to plan though. As you can see in this first kind of section, the first day we're using a shore jack to do this, just kind of lifting it up. This takes a long time, and I decided I'm going to get a different jack. So I borrowed a different jack, which is kind of does a little bit more lifting, a little bit faster. It's totally good as long as you're still going a couple inches at a time. And so starting to lift this thing up, we're getting it kind of in the right place, starting to see actually might be getting level, and then this happens right here. I walk away from the jack, I'm looking around, and I notice that the way this is connected to the house is not good. I start to recognize that actually I might need to tear this down and maybe rebuild it or figure out a way to support this better or push it back. I was trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do when, well... I literally almost died because someone built this overhang totally incorrectly. There's no ledger, there's no actual structure against the house. They had these like kind of fake pillars, and the 2x4 that they used there may be fine, but they were just tacked against the house, against the siding. Everything about this overhang was just literally nailed to the siding, and you can tell that because the house has 0 damage on it. There's no structure at all to this thing, and so it was really a disaster waiting to happen. Thankfully it happened when I was there. Thankfully it happened in the way that it did, because if we had decided to maybe leave it the way it was for a little bit longer, it could have fallen any time in the next couple weeks potentially, or maybe it would have taken a couple months. But basically that thing could have fallen with someone else underneath it, and that would have been really, really bad. As it was, I barely escaped with literally my life. That's literally a couple tons worth of lumber there. If it had hit me on the head, knocked me over, I would have been crushed by it. It wouldn't have been good. From there, as shook as I was waiting for a dumpster, needed to clean up that mess. I did get it all kind of moved off to the side temporarily, and then basically started in on some ceilings. We had some drop ceilings in the kitchen, and these were, a drop ceiling is like, basically it's 3 feet lower than the original ceiling. There are a lot of reasons you might do this. It's easier to run pipe and plumbing and electricity and stuff through a drop ceiling. It was really in fashion, I don't know, 50 years ago or something. Nowadays we actually really like high ceilings a lot better, so we will do everything we can to try and get high ceilings in general in our society, and so that's what we're doing here. I was kind of putting this job off. I considered keeping the ceiling actually. Danielle convinced me to drop it. And it turns out that there was no insulation in the ceiling, which was my big concern. I didn't want to get all nasty and grimy, and the insulation's disgusting. It's not fun. There was none though, so it was really, really thankful for that. Basically dropped the ceiling down. It's 2x4 construction here, dropped those 2, and then started pulling down the original ceiling, which is plaster and lab. So that was all good. Got rid of all of that ceiling. Pretty easy job overall. The last major job we had this week was we wanted to tear down the addition. And based on my experience with the front porch, I'm 90% sure that it's the same builder. Whoever built the front porch overhang also built the addition. And I was really hoping that it was going to be an easy job. An easy relative job. Like, I didn't think it was going to be like really super easy and like, oh, I'll just go over and blow on it or something. But I did think if I cut all the rafters from above, which is what I'm doing here, I cut these rafters. Basically, this is like a structure piece that's holding each rafter in place. The rafter is the highest part of the roof, right below the shingles. Basically, the structure of the roof itself. I was cutting all those pieces out. And then I came around and removed the ceiling, which was really, really simple. The ceiling was being held up by literally barely anything, a little 1x2 board. So it was super easy to remove the ceiling. Then I kind of thought that actually if I started kind of hitting on it in some different places that I'd manage to make the whole thing fall over. And that is not the way it happened at all. It was a wrestling match the entire way. Basically ended up having to pull off the whole exterior wall. It was connected much better than you might expect. These old rusty nails, they do an amazing job of keeping stuff together. A shockingly amazing job of keeping stuff together. It was a huge wrestling match. And then after I pulled out 2 of the walls, the roof decided to stay the way it was. Turns out part of the roof had been rebuilt sometime more recently. The wood looks, pretty new. And so that was also a task. Basically, it took a lot longer to pull out the addition than I thought it was going to take us. I did have some help for this section, kind of cleaning up all my rubbish. So a couple people came over and helped me out with basically cleaning up the front porch and then cleaning up some of this addition. So a huge shout out to you guys. Thanks Sadra and Fran and Hudson. You guys are awesome. Really, really appreciate it. Basically, it took us literally 1 day to fill up this entire dumpster. So we have a 30-yard dumpster here, and that's the same size as the first time, and it literally took us only 1 day. Part of that is about the type of material we're using. It's a lot of long boards and big pieces of stuff, and so it filled up a little bit quicker because of that. But also, we just moved a ton of material today, very heavy, a lot of hard work. And like I said, really appreciate their help because I don't think I could have done as much, nowhere near as much that I could have done today if it wasn't for them. Kind of the last task, I'm by myself again for this section. The last task I have is kind of making sure that this area is weatherproof, or at least weather resistant. The idea here is your crawl space, you don't want that full of water. And the original house, this is where the exterior of the house used to be, it's just wide open to the elements. And so we want to make sure to close this off. Unfortunately, I ran out of batteries in my camera, so I don't have a lot of this on footage, but I took some pictures here. Basically, started putting up, it's called sheathing. I used just plywood boards and put them up against the wall. The idea is that water would basically hit these things and run down the plywood. It's temporary, it won't last forever, but for a couple weeks or for however long it takes us to get this next addition rebuilt again, this will be totally fine. So water runs down the plywood. These sheets of plywood are really hard to lift like 8-10 feet in the air by yourself though. I recommend if you're going to sheathe, try and find someone else to do it with you, because this was a bear of a job. It was really, really tough to get them up in the air and then hold them in place and screw them down, and they're very heavy, not fun, maybe messed up my back, I don't know. The addition is covered up for now. The next couple tasks with the addition, or what used to be the addition, is I need to rebuild it back. So I need to rebuild the floors from scratch on a new sill plate. That'll be hopefully next week. We'll see exactly what the timeline is. And then walls, roof, re-sheathed shingles, and all those types of things to make everything plumb and good to go. Other things that are coming, finalize all the cleanup here. There's a little bit left here in the house that we need to clean up, get into another dumpster. I do need to order another dumpster. It'll be here in a couple days. And then in the next couple weeks, we're gonna actually start putting things back into the house. We're gonna start with electrical. After that, it's gonna be plumbing, get a furnace going. We're gonna be close to, it's basically livable right now, is what I would say. If you love trash houses, if you like watching people tear trash houses down, rebuild them again, back to new, this is the right place. Feel free to like and subscribe. We put out new content every single week, and we will see you guys next time.